Hi, I'm Daniel Romero. I'm the VP of Growth and Marketing at Love and Science. And I feel like as a marketing professional, it's my duty to jump onto the bandwagon talking about this Apple iPad Crush commercial. Because, of course you need to hear one more voice jumping into the fray. But with that said, let's get into it. All right, so like everybody else, I've seen this commercial out and about. With a lot of commentary around it, and I have not seen a single person yet who says that they like it. It's just been, one comment after another about how tone deaf it is, how terrible, how Apple has lost the plot, all of this stuff. And full disclosure, I didn't like it myself. I felt like it was it made me feel sick watching it. It made me feel claustrophobic. But I also see some value in what they did. I understand where they're coming from, and I think at the end of the day, it was a really well done commercial, just not for me. But then again, I'm not really the target audience. So I think what I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it back and just remember what I saw and make sure that I'm talking accurately. So over here on YouTube, watching it back, 1 minute and 8 seconds. So it starts with some things that are near and dear to my heart as a, dabbling musician. You've got the metronome going, you've got the record player. These are things where like immediately I see them and they resonate with me. I remember, going to a garage sale and buying my own turntable when I was a kid, just because I didn't want to share my family's record player. I wanted to have my own in my room. I remember playing those records that I would get at the Salvation Army or at other garage sales and whatnot. And just the way it felt. I remember switching out the needle, having my deck had like this really intense EQ. I don't know how many bands, but it was crazy. It was an insane amount of customizations you could make to the EQ. And that really got me like into the arena of sound design in the first place. So let's get back to the commercial. Enough about me. All right, stuff I don't really care about, paints and things. Oh, the trumpet. The trumpets, again, for me, like that's a hard one to see a trumpet getting crushed. I have like these very vivid early memories of opening up my dad's trumpet case. He never really played much when we were kids, but he'd played a lot when he was a kid. But he had the trumpet case, and I remember opening it up, and like I can so clearly remember the smell of the brass and like the taste even of putting your mouth up to it, the sound, the feel, pushing those buttons down, the one button that would stick. And it's like those are pivotal, very strong core memories of mine as a kid. So seeing that getting squished, it was that's like a hellscape for me. Back to it. Okay, now you pan out and it gets worse. And there's an upright piano, cans of paint, all of that. I see like a little small, in the middle of it, kind of a small studio setup. As a kid, I was homeschooled in, around upstate New York, western upstate New York. And the big thing we would do for gym class was we'd go to the ice rink. And we would do it in the summer too. And after spring, they would melt the ice and it would turn into a roller skating rink. And I just remember being there, and they had this great arcade setup with like Street Fighter and stuff like that. And I remember just the feeling of you grab your quarters, pop them in there, just the feeling of the joysticks in your hand, the buttons, you're hitting those buttons as fast as you can, the sounds, all of it. And it's just, again, like just the wonderful nostalgia of my incredible childhood. I see it about to be crushed by a hydraulic press, and it's really upsetting. The piano, my aunt and uncle on their farm in upstate New York had a very similar upright piano. I remember it was just a little bit out of tune. Like you could play the song, but there's a dissonance in the notes that, again, I hear it in my head. I remember feeling those keys, like the actual ivory keys, the veneer peeling off on a handful of them. It just feels disgusting to watch this stuff getting crushed. Oh gosh. Oh. Paint exploding. That part, like, I don't care about the paint, but I also know what a freaking nightmare it is to clean up paint. But that's beside the point. Like, that at least is visually really awesome. You see the stuff spraying up. Oh, there goes the metronome, the bust, everything just, oh, records being destroyed. I don't care about this Angry Birds ceramic, whatever. Ditch that if you want. Oh, the lenses, oh, the guitar. The guitar, that's a tough one. That's a really hard one to see. The lenses, that is, obviously, it's very convenient to have your phone or an iPad, I guess in this case, to be able to take pictures of the quality we can with something so small and portable is really insane when you think about it. Like, I've got all kinds of cameras, really expensive, obnoxious lenses, a big, fat, stupid lens that you have to carry around. It's like, it's a burden, it's a pain in the butt. But they're awesome, and I love having them. And they're so cool just to look at. I've got this, this weird Russian lens here, and it's like, it's just so primitive and tactile. It's like, it makes that great click when you spin it. Yeah. Oh, look, listen to that when you're changing the aperture. Man, just wonderful. It's like, you don't get that with your iPad. It's really dissatisfying to, you know, to change focus, to try to, you know, if you can quote unquote pull focus on an iPad or an iPhone. It's really, really unpleasant in comparison. Books getting smashed, it feels like something right out of Nazi Germany. Okay, emoji stress ball, have at it, smash that up, I don't care about that. And everything gets blown away and lifts up and reveals the iPad, the thinnest, most powerful iPad. And it's cool. Like, I'm not really an iPad user for the most part. I've tried a handful of times, I've gotten a few of them over the years, and it's like, it's just kind of a weird middle no man's land for me. I'll either go back to my phone or I'll move on to my computer. I don't really know how to use an iPad effectively outside of, like, you know, letting my kids watch a show as it's strapped to the back of my seat while we're driving on a road trip or something like that. But I think that kind of gets to the core of the problem for me. Like, I'm not really the target audience. It makes me sick to watch this because I am a much more nostalgic guy who really appreciates the tactility of these items in my day-to-day life. I love the feeling of the vibration of the guitar as you're strumming it. You know, I love, like I said, messing with my lenses and my cameras. I own a lot of hardware synthesizers. You know, there's just something different about it. There's something about it, that feeling, that the ability to touch and use real knobs and it's just different. There's something different about it, and it's less convenient, but I think that's kind of where the beauty of it is as well. You're hemmed in a little bit. You have to make the most of what's there in front of you, and you don't get to just grab a bunch of plugins and make things happen, you know, at the speed of light. You have to learn how to interact with these things and squeeze the most out of them. And there's an art form to that, and it's really awesome to me, personally, to me. But at the same time, I get the benefit of squeezing all of these things into an iPad. And I think that for a particular type of person, that's really awesome. And they don't care that, you know, the reality, the tangible goods have been destroyed in this video to plug them into the iPad, because to them it's just all I want is the convenience of this thing. I've really been grappling with that over the last couple of years. This year in particular, it's really come into focus for me, this idea of, like, I don't want the convenience anymore. You know, as Teddy Roosevelt would have called it, the strenuous life. I'm kind of looking more for the strenuous life at this point. So again, kind of makes me sick, but it's not really for me. I don't buy iPads really. I don't really use iPads, but I can still see the utility. And, you know, back to the synthesizers. I have a bunch of big, fat, hard to use analog physical synthesizers, and they're really cool. I use them for inspiration more than anything else. But then I open up my MacBook Pro and I get into Logic, and I have, this massive library of, synthesizer emulators. And, at the end of the day, it's just a whole lot easier to make a full song and, produce it and get all of that stuff done when you're using these plugins and you're using these emulators. And, that's kind of what the iPad commercial is showing. All of this functionality is inside of this one very powerful box. And that's awesome in a lot of ways. As a person, as a consumer, it misses the mark for me, but maybe for the core iPad user, it doesn't really. What I would have liked to see instead is the complementary side of it. So again, back to the synthesizers, I will use my hardware synths, my analog hardware synths, and use those for inspiration, make some sounds, all that. And then instead of routing them into my computer, I'll open up my computer and launch a virtual version of that synthesizer and replicate it inside of there. I'm using the real thing as the songwriting tool, and I'm using the digital version as kind of my canvas to get the thing completed. It's very easy for me then to take that file and do all kinds of crazy things and make it sound exactly how I want. But that's where I see this stuff. Like, to me, the better ad would have been the partnership side of it. You see someone taking photos with their actual camera and then moving it into your iPad to edit it, or making music with your real guitar and then adding layers to it inside of your iPad. I don't think that this is a bad commercial. I'll come out and say that. And I don't think it's a huge swing and a miss. I think we have a very vocal group here who hate it, who are probably a lot more like me, who don't want to see the physical world taken away. I'm not afraid of AI personally, but I know that's a big concern for a lot of people right now. So the idea of like these physical things are gone and they're being replaced by some digital format of stuff you don't necessarily own. Like, maybe you've got all of your stuff squeezed into a specific app and then you find, oh, the app's no longer supported, it's going away. What happens to your stuff? But at the same time, you have the physical goods. What if a fire comes through your house? Or, we've just seen the devastating tornadoes that have been tearing through the Midwest. These things could go away regardless. But I think that's also the play that would have been much more meaningful, to me at least, on this iPad commercial. The redundancy play. You've got all these great things that are awesome, you have memories tied to, and now you can bring them with you. Now it's portable. Now you have a backup if something happens. That's where the software becomes really useful and really awesome. But I don't want to rely on this stuff. I don't want to see physical goods, handcrafted, or just cool, old, substantial physical goods. I don't want to see them getting smashed. I don't want them destroyed. I don't want them squeezed into a digital format, and that's the only way I can access them now. That's just not for me. And I think that it's, again, I'm sure there's the market out here for people who really would prefer that, but I would recommend, if you're one of those people, don't go all in. Try to keep yourself grounded. Keep a foot in both worlds. Go outside, touch some things, make some things, plant some things. Stay connected to the physical world, because there's no promise of the digital future. We just don't know what's going to happen. At any moment, what if the power goes out, the power grid goes down? Like, you're just screwed at that point. And of course, again, the physical world's not guaranteed either. It's not a promise for us. The only thing we have a promise for is the spiritual world. But I would rather go all in on the physical than all in on the digital, personally. I would love to hear your thoughts. Boy, my shirt looks a lot more wrinkled on camera. Man, how'd I leave the house like that this morning?